Dear listeners, welcome to the Deep Journal channel. By subscribing to our channel before moving on to our video, you can be instantly informed about the last news and comments. Israel's system, which was seen as the absolute defense in the past days, succeeded in surpassing the Iron Dome, and there were Hamas rockets that could hit some points in Tel Aviv, Ashkelon and Ashdod. In addition, it was noted that the Iron Dome air defense system experienced a technical malfunction for a long time in the city of Ashkelon on May 12. In the previous weeks, the failure of the Iron Dome system to be activated against a missile fired near Israel's nuclear power plant from Syria caused panic in Israel. Finally, on May 13, 2021, the Iron Dome system, which failed to hit a rocket launched from Gaza, hit the Israeli settlement. The Israeli Defense Ministry also shared data reflecting the Iron Dome's performance since the launch of rocket attacks from Gaza. IDF said in a statement, "-1,600 rockets have been fired since the beginning of the escalation. The rate of intercepting missiles is 90% in relation to the number of missiles that are confronted according to the policy followed by the Army." In the production information of the Iron Dome air defense system, the anti-missile capacity was specified as 94%. The decrease in this rate was also noteworthy. Israel's air defense system, called the Iron Dome, has played an important role in deflecting rockets from Gaza so far, while in recent conflicts some of these rockets seem to have managed to overcome this defense system. Well, what does it mean? Is the Iron Dome air defense system now collapsing? Military experts and analysts point out that the Palestinian groups that attacked Israel with rockets and anti-tank missiles in Gaza began to overcome the Iron Dome by changing tactics. Israel announced that more than 1,000 rockets had been fired from Gaza as of Wednesday morning. It is stated that about 850 of these rockets were destroyed by the Iron Dome or fell on Israeli soil. According to the statement, around 200 remaining rockets fell within the borders of the Gaza Strip. In addition to the failure of some rockets to be destroyed by the Iron Dome and causing loss of life, the fact that these rockets went to ranges such as Tel Aviv that previously could not be reached by Palestinian groups is another factor in Israel. So what exactly is the Iron Dome air defense system? Iron Dome is the name of the air defense system that Israel has developed and used for about 10 years. This system was developed jointly by the Israeli defense company Rafael and the state-owned Aerospace Industries Agency. The production of the system is done at the facility in northern Israel. In the news in the Israeli press, it was planned to be completely financed by the country's own resources in the first place. However, after the serial production started, half of the system components started to be produced in the USA in return for financial support from the USA. The US is expected to support Israel's missile defense systems program of $500 million annually. $73 million of this amount was allocated to the Iron Dome program. The US military is also negotiating to purchase this system. Israel started using the Iron Dome system in 2011. This is the first of 3 air defense systems Israel has developed against missile attacks at different ranges. Iron Dome is used against short-range attacks such as rockets, missiles and mortars. On its website, Rafael describes the Iron Dome as the world's only multi-purpose system with proven effectiveness in combat environment. Other air defense systems of Israel are David's Slingshot, which is developed against medium and long-range threats such as aircraft, unmanned aerial vehicles and long-range missiles, Arrow 2 that reaches the upper layers of the atmosphere, and Arrow 3 that can go out of the atmosphere. So how exactly does this system work? The Iron Dome is designed to operate both day and night and in all weather conditions. Within the scope of the Iron Dome, there is a radar system that detects the threat. These radars detect to what extent the incoming rocket poses a threat. If the launched rocket is directed to settlements or important infrastructure facilities, a missile is sent to destroy it. These missiles can be fired from mobile units or fixed points, and the rocket coming through them is destroyed in the air. Rafael says the system has a 90% success rate. In an article published in the Israel-Hayom newspaper at the end of March, it was stated that there has been no change in the hardware of Iron Dome, but improvements have been made in the software. So what does the Iron Dome air defense system mean for Israel? The Iron Dome plays an important role in Israel's efforts to prevent the loss of life and property, especially from rockets fired from Gaza by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. It is stated that this region, where conflicts are intensified from time to time, is of critical importance for the continuation of normal life and ensuring security, especially in the south of Israel. Advocates of this system state that thanks to the Iron Dome, Israel has reduced the threat against it and that land operations are no longer necessary, especially during the tensions in the 2010s. However, there are those who think that Israel has too much confidence in this system in the face of threats from Gaza and does not allocate enough resources to other security-enhancing measures. The most important of these is that the early warning system does not work effectively enough during rocket attacks and there are not enough shelters. Guyman, who lives in Ashkelon in the south of Israel, told Israeli Army Radio on Tuesday, "Our house is not under protection. It is not wise to try to go out into the street and go to the shelter, especially when there are intense rocket fire. We trust," he said. So how effective is the Iron Dome in the final thriller? Is it enough to defend Israel? The tension between Israel and Palestine that started in Jerusalem recently spread to Gaza. After the rocket attacks against Israel from Gaza, Israel also started air operations. However, unlike recent years, the rockets fired from Gaza caused loss of lives and damaged infrastructure facilities in Israel, bringing questions about the effectiveness of the Iron Dome. Some analysts describe this situation as an important turning point. Rockets fired from Gaza for the first time in recent years are causing casualties in Israel. Although the Iron Dome was successful in destroying most of the rockets, some hit the target and caused casualties, said BBC Middle East correspondent Yolanda Nell. The defensive missiles used in the Iron Dome cost between $20,000 and $100,000, while Hamas rockets are mostly homemade, worth a few $100s. It is stated that Hamas is exhausting the advanced defense system with cheap rockets and that the rockets that come after it can surpass the missile shield. 6 Israelis have lost their lives in the attacks on Gaza so far. Another point of concern on the Israeli side is that the rockets were able to reach the outskirts of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. A person died in the Rishon LeZion area, located 8 kilometers south of Tel Aviv city center. Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv was temporarily closed on Tuesday evening. On Monday, the Israeli parliament, Knesset, also paused and was evacuated. So why do rockets fired from Gaza cause casualties? Analysts point out that this was also evident during the clashes that took place 2 years ago. He says that it was experienced on the 4th to the 5th of May 2019, when the tension in the region increased. At that time, the tension between the two sides increased again and nearly 700 rockets were fired from Gaza to Israel. Some of these rockets fell on settlements, 3 people lost their lives and 130 people were injured. Analysts say that if dozens of rockets were fired at the same time, the Iron Dome was also seen to be incapable of destroying some of them at some point. Professor of Brock University in Canada, who conducted research on the effectiveness of the Iron Dome. Doctor, in an article he wrote on this subject in 2019, Michael Armstrong said, "It is seen that there are 117 rockets fired in 1 hour. It is impossible to stop all of them when all of them are fired at the same time. However, they can be destroyed much more easily when they are launched over a period of 1 hour." In an article published in the Jerusalem Post newspaper, it was stated that during the clashes in 2014, Hamas fired approximately 4,000 rockets in 50 days and that these rockets were easily destroyed by the Iron Dome, as these rockets spread over time. The newspaper wrote that Israeli security officials have long worried that Hezbollah in Lebanon might break the influence of the air defense system by acting with a similar tactic.